Welcome to Mastery Podcast, where stories unlock the secrets and empowered and abundant life. Our special guest today, Karen R Koernig, is a well-known psychotherapist, licensed clinical social worker, and author with a strong focus on helping individuals develop healthier relationships with food and their bodies. She is widely recognized for her expertise in treating eating disorders, emotional eating, and weight-related concerns. Through her books and therapeutic work, Karen offers compassionate guidance and evidence-based strategies to empower individuals to cultivate self-compassion, mindfulness, and a balanced approach to eating and overall well-being. Her work has had a significant impact on the field of mental health, and she continues to be a respected voice in the realm of eating and weight loss. Wow. Karen, welcome to Mastery Podcast. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Karen.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the lovely introduction.
Thank you. You're welcome. You deserve all that and more. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Karen. How did you get to become such an expert in weight loss and emotional eating?
I had my own eating issues since my teen years. So, and I'm 76. So I've been knowing about what it feels like to have an unhealthy relationship with food for a long time. Then I went back, got a master's in ed and a master's in clinical social work. So I learned even more about it. So that's how I got here. I became a social worker when I was around 40. And I love the field. I love it, and I'm so glad there's more people in it now, more and more people. There were very few when I started out in the 80s.
Wow. Good story. And a lot of people, right, Karen, go into certain field because they are interested in it, because they have the need to overcome certain issue, and that was for you, and you were passionate about it because you want to fix that for yourself, and then you end up helping a bunch of people. And a few years ago, Karen, you were invited to speak to this famous singer songwriter from Canada, but she's Canadian American, right? And everybody knows her, Alanis Morissette, right? We had a long conversation with her about weight loss and emotional eating and stuff like that. And can you tell us a little bit about that experience? I know we look up to people who are in the limelight, right? You know, celebrities and stuff like that, and we think they are perfect, but they're just one of us. You know, they suffer the same issue that we all humans suffer. And Elena's did a great job with her podcast, where she bring in experts, right? And you were one of them to talk about this stuff. Can you touch a little bit on that? And we'll put a link on there right down below, where people can also go listen to that interview with you and Elena's.
Sure. I was quite surprised. I got an email from her manager or liaison asking if I would do an interview, and I said, sure, I'd love to. And Alanis is sort of an amazing person, because so many celebrities keep quiet about their problems. You know, I don't know, their agents say, don't do that, don't talk about that. But she's a very brave woman. And the thing I like about her podcast is they're very broad. She has people, mental health people from all over the spectrum. She just didn't have this narrow focus, which puts eating disorders in perspective. It's not just about the food. So that's what I really liked. And from what I remember, she talked a lot about her issues. And we talked about recovery and what full recovery looks like. And honestly, the time flew by.
Yeah, I bet. I listened to that interview. It was a great interview. And you have like 8 different books out, Karen. Amazing accomplishment. And I would want to just touch on a little bit of it. And if you can explain what the work that you put into this book. The first one was Rules of Normal Eating, right? You talk about the guy that you encourage people to kind of listen to their body, listen to the, like, if they're hungry they eat, don't eat because they feel emotionally think that they need to eat, stuff like that. Can you touch a little bit on that, and so our listener can maybe go and check out your book?
Just sort of the pre-story to my writing about eating disorders is I took a screenplay class, and I lived in Boston. I'm now in Sarasota, Florida. And I decided I wanted to write screenplays. And so I tried that. I tried novels. And the woman who taught the class said to me, these are okay, but really, why don't you write what you know? And what I knew was eating and how to recover. So that was why I wrote the Rules of Normal Eating. And normal is in quotes because normal is different for all of us. And it's not about healthy eating. It's not about what to eat. It's the how and the why. So we can tune in and 4 simple rules. Eat mostly when you're hungry. Mostly foods you enjoy. Be mindful, pay attention to the eating, and stop when you're full and satisfied. And as I describe it, very simple, but not easy.
Yeah. Sometimes we know what to do, but to put it into practice, right? It's kind of a little bit difficult. That's why you have clients who personally come to see you, even though you're not taking any new clients anymore, but you're still seeing your old clients, not too much, kind of semi-retired. To touch on a little bit about the normal eating, and you said people don't know why they eat, right? And a lot of people think they eat because the food tastes good or the food make them feel better. But technically, you feed your body because your body needs the nutrients, right? That's why you feel the hunger, and a lot of people don't realize that or are not aware of that fact, even though if you think about it, it's true, right? And your book touch a lot about that, and you talk a lot about self-compassion and self-love, all this emotional intelligence that play into the fact that people are overeating or not eating enough or binge eating and stuff like that. Can you give us a little bit about your point of view on that?
Well, there are 2 different systems. Your system of nourishing your body. I mean, food is there to nourish us. The fact that it tastes good, it has evolved that we like food, and it's a good thing that it's tasty, or we wouldn't eat it, and the humans would not survive. So it's primarily for pleasure. For nourishment, secondarily pleasure. So that's one piece of it, that there's the appetite system, and then there's the emotional system. Mm-hmm. But what happens with what I call dysregulated eaters, I don't like the term disordered eaters because the opposite is ordered eaters. And what the heck is that, So you want to be regulated, but dysregulated eaters feel it's this way. I feel, I eat. It's one thought. And they're really 2 different systems. So I try to help people get nourishment emotionally, which is not done with food, and feed their bodies, which is done with food, which was why, again, I want people to understand that eating disorders are about life. They're not just about food. I had a client in Boston, and I started asking her all these other questions, not about her eating. And she said, but I came here because I want to find out how to eat differently and eat better. I said, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's a lot bigger than that. And that's hard for people, for some people.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well put. A lot of people have difficulty in that. And you wrote another book. It's called The Food and Feelings Workbook. Would that be something that you would recommend for individuals who have weight loss, weight issue, and just don't know where to start? Can you touch a little bit on how that works?
Sure, but before I do, I want to explain my focus is on eating. This is not my analogy. I don't remember where I got it, but it's great. Eating is the locomotive, and weight is the caboose. So we don't want to focus on the caboose because the train's not going to go anywhere. Ironically, in studies, the more we focus on weight, the harder it is to eat normally. Because normal eaters, or normal healthy eaters, they think about weight, but they're really very present to the eating to that moment, not how much is this going to put on me, or how much can I lose by not eating. So, to answer your question, after I wrote The Rules of Normal Eating and started seeing clients, what I realized is emotional dysregulation was a major problem. People didn't know why they had feelings. They had no idea the purpose of feelings. Again, everything is evolution. Why do we have emotions? They're there to tell us to do something or not do something for survival. So the Food and Feelings Workbook explains the purpose of feelings, why change can't happen fast. That's always a big discussion. Why can't it happen sooner? Because if we changed quickly and everyone changed quickly, society would fall apart. I mean, this is just what happens. It's slow. And then I picked the feelings that I thought, were most disruptive for most of my clients. Things like guilt and shame, confusion, uncertainty, and explain how to deal with them without focusing on food.
Nice. So they focus more on self-awareness and emotional regulations and stuff like that. And when you talk about being empowered, right? Being empowered on their decision, being aware of why they eat, when they eat, and all that stuff, and when we spoke earlier, and you said you don't tell your clients to weigh themselves at all,
right? Because that takes away from what the problem is. Usually what we weigh follows what we eat and exercise. But there's so many other, genetics. I read, I'm trying to remember 50 to 75, this is with twin studies, 50 to 70% of our weight is genetically determined. So, it's not like we can just choose a weight and be it. It just depends on a lot of factors. There are some 24 factors which affect our weight. Are neurotransmitters. If you have trauma, depression, anxiety, it's going to be more difficult. And other kind of factors that would not seem relevant, but they are. Also, what your family taught you about food. How did they relate to food? So there's so much modeling that goes on. So it's really disconnecting. Sure, you can want to lose weight. Your body will feel better. And it also can't be the focus. It's sort of it's holding two thoughts at once.
Right, right. And if you kind of this is how I talk to my client, um, and my kids. If you would just eat healthy food, and your weight will automatically be healthy, and right, and then we also define what healthy weight is.
Yeah.
Our society and the social media and everything out there, I think younger people nowadays have a harder time. Not even younger, people in their middle age and still worry about their weight and what they look like and stuff like that because of the technology here. The Facebook, the Instagram, and all the stuff, and you compare yourself with other people when, like you said, Karen, people have different genetic makeup, right? You can look skinny and be unhealthy, right? You can look a little bit, on the
Higher weight, we call
higher
it.
weight, right?
Lower weight and higher weight,
And
they're
then
very
you're healthy.
neutral terms. They're just descriptive.
They're just descriptive, but that's how your body makeup is. There's
Right.
like different, like the ectomorph, the exomorph, and all those stuff. Did you talk about all those stuff, Karen? Can you touch a little bit on that, like the different body types and why not everybody should be like a Barbie doll?
Right. Well, what I say to clients is, go back and look at your parents, the grandparents, great grandparents, as far as you can go. I mean, some people have body types. My mom was maybe 5 feet on a good day. My dad was 5'5" or 5'6". I'm gonna just be small, short. So it has a huge influence. But if you look back and see, oh, this is not my fault. I'm not bad, or there's not something wrong with me. This is what I'm genetically given. This is the body I have. And you touched on something so important, which is we have less and less tolerance for any kind of diversity. Body diversity, political, religious, everything. It's all cookie cutter now. We have to be the same. It's horrible for kids coming up. And it's also, there's a very high percentage that you wouldn't expect of older people, mostly women, with eating disorders.
Wow.
So it's not like, well, you get older and it goes away. For some people it does, and for some people it gets worse. They have eating disorders for the first times in their lives. So it's a social issue and a cultural issue. But one other point I wanted to make, I can't remember if you and I had talked about that. For me, there's a difference between normal eating and healthy eating. Normal eating is following the 4 rules. Healthy eating is eating nutritiously. So you can, let's say, be someone who overeats, but only eats healthy food, or overeats and eats unhealthy food, or doesn't. I have friends, let's say, who will order things, fried food, and they'll eat half of it. So that would be unhealthy. Not that you can't ever have fried foods. I'm using them as an example, but that would be unhealthy. But she was a normal eater. She'll say, "I'm full." Other people will eat large amounts of food, but it's all healthy and nutritious, but it's too much for their body. So they don't know how to stop. So I would say they're not a normal eater. So the goal is to become a normal eater, in tune with your appetite, and a healthy eater. But you got to be the normal eater before you get to the healthy eater, because if you're trying to eat too healthy right away, you feel like you're dieting. Dieting causes weight gain and what they call weight cycling, rebound eating. So it's very complicated.
Yeah, it sounds complex, and it's not just you eat less, you lose weight, you eat healthy, you look healthy. It had to be the amount and all those stuff. But first, you must learn to eat normal, right?
Yes.
And you say something about there are 4 rules of normal eating. Can you give us those 4 rules?
Yeah. Eat mostly when you're hungry.
Mhm.
So obviously, sometimes we can't do that. If I'm going to the theater here and I usually eat at X and I know I'll be hungry, I'm going to have to adjust my schedule. But it's planned. It's not, oh, there's food. I think I'll eat it. So eat mostly when you're hungry. Choose foods you enjoy. Again, dieting is the gateway, chronic dieting for weight loss is the gateway to eating disorders.
Mhm.
You see people heavily dieting, which I used to do. There's an eating disorder around the corner because that's our bodies are meant to see food and eat food. And once we deprive ourselves, it changes our metabolism. So rule 2 is mostly eat foods you enjoy. If you like fried clams or French fries, cake, whatever it is, eat those without guilt and shame.
Mhm.
Third, pay attention to your food and be connected to your appetite while you eat. Maybe you're asking yourself, am I still hungry? Am I full yet? Which normal eaters do naturally, but people can teach themselves to do. And fourth, stop when full, which is quantity, or satisfied, which is quality. And sometimes it's a perfect meal and we had just enough and it was delicious.
Mhm.
Sometimes it wasn't so delicious, but we stopped because we're full. Maybe have an extra bite. And take food home. Throw food away. I mean, it's all these beliefs we have about, I've written articles on that, on, the shame of throwing food away.
Yeah.
We have to get past that to take care of
It's what
ourselves.
we've been told all the time. There are kids in Africa who are starving. How could you throw
Right.
food away and then you feel guilty, so you eat it all?
Right. But, I mean, then again, think about it. How does your eating more help that person? If you want to help the starving person, give money,
Exactly.
to programs that help them. But the examples that I use, again, they're not original, is if you get a parking space and you put money in the meter and you still have time on it, you don't sit in your car. You've paid the money, because people will say, but I paid so much for this food. You do things with that, or you put clothes in a washer. You go to a laundry. And if they're dry, you take them out. You don't say, well, I put all my money in. I'm going to sit here till that cycle is done. We don't do that. But we have this very odd thinking, which again is very cultural, about finishing our food and wasting food. And so it involves changing a belief and saying, this is okay. I just want to feed my body well. That's my priority, my only priority.
I believe that's very powerful, Karen, because a lot of people are dieting and they like, oh yeah, I know what healthy food is, and then they go for that, and then they don't learn the basic rules of just normal eating, just listening, and just eat when you're hungry, and stop when you're full, and listening to your body like that, and I believe this is where people fail, right, in trying to be healthy in a healthy weight, and they kind of skip that part and then just go for keto, South Beach, and all this stuff, and then expect to be like a supermodel the next few months. It doesn't work that way. What about Karen?
Just briefly. What diets do basically is say, you are too ignorant to know how to feed yourself, which undermines empowerment. It lowers self-esteem. It makes us think there's something wrong. But that's because we've been told we don't know how to feed ourselves. Or maybe that's what we learned in childhood from our role models who didn't feed themselves well or us. So it's, again, about the worst thing we can do.
Yeah, right. And that speaks to a lot of people who tend to overeat, right? And what about people who eat normally, eat whatever they want, and then they like go to the bathroom and just throw it up, and all those binge eating, right? And
Mhm.
and I know of a lot of young kids, girls especially, beautiful, like they could look drop dead gorgeous like a supermodel, and they think they are too fat or don't look good enough, and they binge. What can you tell those individuals? What can they start with?
Well, I was one of them,
Yeah.
so I, when I was, well, after I had my tonsils out, apparently I put weight on. My mother would take me to the chubby girls department. Of course, that would not be PC now. They have other names for it, but it really was called the chubby girls department. And so then in my teens, I dieted. I had this food diary that I only ate an apple today. How wonderful. And then, of course, over the weekend, I would binge. And my mother had food rules like these. She used to get maraschino cherries, and she'd say, okay, these are just for company. So I couldn't eat them. So I'd have to sneak and eat them. So I developed an eating disorder pretty early on. And then in my late 20s, I worked at an advertising agency, and looks were important. And I discovered bulimia. It's like, I can binge all I want and purge after. And I did that for about a year and a half. I don't like doing it, but it was working until I mentioned it to a friend. And she said, you call a therapist and then call me after you've called the therapist when you have an appointment. And, I'm glad I told her. And I had been in therapy before, but I worked with a therapist and overcame the eating disorder and gradually the binging. And I'm now half a lifetime recovered. But I have had clients who for 20, 30 years have purged. And it's a secret. It's such a horrible, hard secret to keep. But people can be treated. There's wonderful books out there. Actually, there's a book called Bulimia, which is terrific. And people can get treatment and learn how not to do that anymore. And stop binging, because they really go hand in hand.
Yeah, you think mostly those binge eating, it comes from the lack of self-love and self-confidence, and with the work on that part, this part of their life will kind of just correct itself.
Well, it's also developing skills. In my book, Outsmarting Overeating, talks about we need life skills, no matter what our eating is. We need to set boundaries, regulate our emotions, know how to set goals and problem solve, have intimate relationships, comfort ourselves. So we need to be able to do all those things that maybe food has been doing. If I didn't, before I was married, if I didn't have a date on Saturday night, I grab all my favorite foods and think about what am I going to eat, and then I would eat them all because I was lonely, and binge and then purge. It's a hell of a way to spend a Saturday night.
Right.
So I had to learn all those skills so that I didn't turn to the food.
What was the first skill that you learned that for you it had really impacted your personal growth as far as overcoming binge eating and bulimia?
That's one you mentioned before, self-compassion. And this was long. I mean, now there's also a wonderful book by Kristen Neff on self-compassion, which is outstanding. But it wasn't a word that was trendy back then. Mm-hmm. But hearing my therapist not think I was the most awful person in the world for doing it, that it was a coping mechanism, something I learned, it's something I could unlearn. Boy, self-compassion helped a lot. And particularly if you grow up in a household where there's that sort of, you're hard on yourself. And dysregulated eaters, pardon the pun, take the cake for being hard on themselves. Very little self-compassion. So that really is numero uno, to have that and to feel, what you would feel towards others, empathy, forgiveness, and turn it inward. It is life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that if you want to change the world, you must change yourself first. If you want to see good in the world, you treat yourself well,
Right.
feed yourself, make sure you're healthy and stuff like that. And this is something that I believe the media and have kind of highlighted more today than, like you say, in the past, people weren't talking about self-love and all this stuff. But now it's like, it's the thing. It's like, if you don't have that, you're not successful in life at all. Not to mention, weight is just like, it's like way behind that. And it just, self-compassion is everything,
It's a key ingredient.
It's the key ingredient, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'm just wondering what is the key ingredient for you, and that's just like an amazing thing that you said. Looking at self-compassion, mindfulness, self-awareness, and paving your way to become healthier, what would be the first step that you think people should look at? I mean, how can you have self-compassion? I mean, people throw that word out all the time. What does that look like?
It is having an unconditional caring and valuing yourself no matter what. What I say to clients is that if you were born on this planet, you are okay. You are human, and you are allowed to feel your feelings, make mistakes. And this is just true of all of us. And being able to live with yourself without shame and guilt, that it's a goal. We keep working at it. This is interesting. I was in a doctor's office once, and the door was open. The nurse had come in and left the door open. The doctor will be right in, and she must have walked back past me. Past the room. As I was sitting in the chair, I dropped something. And I really am very kind to myself, but I think I said something like, "Oh, dummy." She was walking by the room. She came in and she said, "We don't allow anyone to talk to themselves like that in here." And I thought, that is wonderful. And I said, "Thank you for pointing that out. I don't really think I'm a dummy, but what a wonderful thing to be encouraging." And so we need more people to tell us, you can't talk to yourself like that. Please don't do that. It hurts me when people say bad things about themselves. So it helps to have people not allow it, even though it's uncomfortable for people, but that's part of the change. For us to be role models. I did something that I made a mistake with a client, and she kept saying, "Well, don't feel bad, don't feel bad." I said, I don't. It's gone. It happened yesterday. That was a very new concept. Mm-hmm. You don't beat yourself up for days when you make a mistake.
Right.
So I think, we can help people by modeling for them.
Nice, nice. I actually have a self-love journey course that I created, and I just want to hear what your point of view is, and I believe we all went through that, right? For me, it took years for me to have that self-compassion, because automatically, you want to prove to the world that you mean something, or you are worthy of something. You have this degree and that degree, and it's like nothing is ever enough, and you are so hard on yourself. Like you say, Karen, um, you start expecting so much of yourself, and then when you make like some silly mistake, and then you call yourself name, and names are very powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you touched on that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, here's how I grew up. Mm-hmm. My dad, who was a wonderful, wonderful man, however, had this saying. He would say, good, better, best, never let it rest till the good is better and the better is the best. It did push me towards, achieving and progressing and things, but that's a hard thing to grow up with, because it always has to be the best. And now, good enough works for me in many areas. So, exactly. So it's, really thinking about what lessons did you get in childhood? Which ones do you want to keep? Which ones do you want to go and just toss out and start again? But, not having self-compassion. Yeah, I mean, it colors everything you do in life, everything. Right. And once you have it, it colors everything.
Exactly. That I think that's like the number one skill that everybody must have. And I, being in the field, in the medical field, for example, people are so so driven, right? And you must have like doctorate degree and this degree and this diploma and that diploma and that certificate and this certificate. It's so the world out there is very you're competing against the masses, and you must be the best, right? And I believe that your best is when you are happy doing what you're doing, and you're doing the best you can. And don't be too hard on yourself. Like you said, Karen, people are too hard on themselves. You say something about the magic idea of quick fixes for weight loss and healthy eating is like, it's a myth, right? There's no quick fixes anywhere. Your diet, and they promise you this and this, you're gonna yo-yo back because you didn't
exactly.
Yeah, you must fix the basics, right? Learn to eat normal, and then learn to eat healthy.
Well, even the word fix, to me, I think of, okay, I have a problem with my computer. My wonderful computer tech guy comes and he takes the problem away. Maybe it takes an hour at the most. That's what we think of with fixing. So it's not even the right word. It's repairing, evolving, growing, healing. And they are processes. They're not moments in time. Again, it goes back to our culture. We're very can-do, moving forward all the time. And it is not conducive for mental health and for what we call progress today, which, critiquing it to me is not always progress. So it's really having the intelligence and guts to say, no, I'm setting my own path. I will be as good as I want in certain things. And I want joy out of it. I want fun in life. I want meaning. And no one can tell me what's enough. I have a client who we have been working on her. She has a very high-powered job. and a boss that can be difficult. And she's just saying, no, I'm not going to stay and do overtime. And she's kept her job, and they found somebody else to do the work. But it's great to see her doing that. And that's the kind of growth that helps. It helps you become mentally healthy. And it also helps in eating, because she doesn't come home and she's not stressed. Mm-hmm. She leaves at a normal time, comes home, cooks a normal dinner.
Right, and give herself enough rest. I'm glad you touch on that. It's more like setting boundaries, right? What is important to you? If your health is important to you, if your family is important to you, then you're not going to take all that extra time at work, right? Like you say, somebody else can do it. You sign up for 8 hours a day. That's it. And when it's time for you to go home, you go home.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, occasionally you might do something extra, but it's about you. It's not fear of punishment, abandonment, retribution. Mm-hmm. It's being more in ourselves than other people. Dysregulated eaters generally are very focused on others and approval. What will they think of me? It's what you were talking about, the comparing before. They do a lot of comparing, and I'll ask, we'll be talking about something, and they'll say, well, what do you think? And I'll say, I'm here to help you think about what you think. And I can tell they've grown when they stop asking me, and they eventually do.
Yeah, they just accept what they think instead of asking for other people's opinion. Yeah, because they are an individual.
Yeah, it's interesting. I worked with a woman for about 10 years. And so we talked about her finally winding down, and she was ready. And I said, great. Usually with therapists, we do a termination of a couple of sessions. And I knew she was really ready, because she said, in 10 years, I know, I've learned it all. I'm going to want to do one more session and we'll wrap up and that's it. And I said, fine, great. Mm-hmm. She knew her mind. She wasn't saying, oh, gee, Karen, is it okay if we do just one? Mm-hmm. She jumped right in. And that was great.
Nice. And I'm sure you help her tremendously. We almost out of time. What would your last word be for our listener? What would you, if you want to give them that golden nugget? I know we talk about self-compassion, we talk about emotional, that food and your relationship with food is more than just food. It's more than just knowing what to eat. It's all the other things. What would be your golden nugget for people out there who still don't know what is the underlying cause of why they are overeating or binging or having weight issue? What would be your number one advice for them right now?
Well, I would say treat it, ditch the shame, ditch the hopelessness, because most people have tried to change their eating and their weight by dieting. Mm-hmm. So ditch that and approach it like you would any other thing. Learn about it. Read books, read articles. Go into therapy for general problems, stress, trauma, substance abuse, whatever it is, family issues. Learn about yourself. It's not scary. I mean, that's what most people, are afraid of. I don't want to learn that stuff. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to know more. You have to move forward. You have to at least understand yourself, why you do things. Be more of a conscious person. And if you don't want therapy, then there's a tremendous amount of great books out there that really will help you grow in the eating arena and in your whole life. So I'd say be courageous.
listen to podcasts and go read Karen's blog.
Yeah, I have blog twice a week. I have almost 2,000 blogs, maybe. I blog well ahead. But there's many wonderful authors out there, and enjoy the process of learning about yourself and changing.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. I love that you say enjoy the process, because everything is a process. You never reach anywhere, right? The only place that you're gonna reach, and it's just another milestone and another milestone, and might as well going through the process enjoyable than, there was a story, a movie that I watched. It called Puss in Boots, and there are many people, right, who try to get to this big stars where they can get this wish, and everybody get the same map, but that same map give everybody a different experience. And there's this little dog who's like so happy-go-lucky, and you see rainbows and unicorns and all this stuff, and people who are scared and afraid, they see like, monster and gremlins and all kinds of stuff. And you can have the same journey, going at it with the attitude of fear and doubt and being scared and all this stuff, or you can have the attitude of, yeah, I want to learn this. I want to improve my health. I want to improve my life. And it's all about the decision that you make, right, Karen, to go through this with joy, or to go through it with just, fear. And, I let us choose joy.
Well, yes, and if there's something blocking the joy, not that we can be joyous all the time, obviously we can't, but if there's something blocking it, again, treat it like any other problem. What's the problem? What's the remedy? What's the path that's going to help me?
Yeah. And you say there's many layers, right? Then the first time when the client comes see you tackle one layer, and the next year it's like peeling away the onion, right? And you need to have self-compassion and be gentle and be patient with yourself.
And I mean, most therapists use the relationship as well. For instance, when the client says, oh, you'll be so proud of me, and say, it's not my business to be proud of you. My business is to be proud of myself. But it tells me that they are used to other people approving of them or not, and that they don't have self-pride. Self-pride is, to me, the most valuable, maybe next to self-compassion, but pride gets a bad rap. We're told, pride cometh before the fall, and don't be boastful. But self-pride just means I am glad to be me, and I like what I did. And to me, that's what encourages us. That's what moves us forward. If we don't have that, I don't know how we'll ever be happy.
That's right. That's right. Self-compassion, self-pride, and be patient with yourself. And everything's process. Yeah. Everything is a process, and go through it with love and compassion for yourself.
And curiosity about it.
Yes, that's right.
Just saying, okay, I'm just going to be open to this and see what happens.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I believe that's a beautiful conclusion to our conversation today. And I wish we have more time. But before we go, Karen, and I kind of warn you about this, I like to ask all my guests, if they have a genie in a bottle and they have the 3 wishes, what would their 3 wishes be?
Well, for self-compassion and self-pride. I mean, I would love that for people. And tolerating differences, to be able to tolerate just the wonderful wealth of diversity in this world. I guess on a personal note, to keep, love. I want love in my life, and I wish that for other people. To really value that and hold it dear.
Nice, nice. Those are beautiful wishes. And guess what? I'm going to play universe and say, bing, may all your wishes come true. But before we go, Karen, I have this ribbon. It said, who I am makes a difference. And I just want to honor you. This is a ribbon that we use, the ambassador of the Blue Ribbon. We honor everyone that we come in contact with the Blue Ribbon. And I just want to honor you today for coming on this podcast, for being the light for other people out there, for being a good example, for writing all these books, for people who want to take care of their weight and their emotional health with, and those are amazing books. And I just want to honor you for all that. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast. And this ribbon goes on your heart like this, and it point up in the sky. May I place it on you?
Yes.
All right, I will virtual place it on you. And there's a cheerleader on here. And when I press on it, it makes a sound bing, where all your wishes come true.
I love it. I love it.
This blue ribbon was created by Grandma Sparky. She's 80 years old now, and it's been around for 40 years. And it's a symbol of love and compassion and of unity for the whole world. Yes.
Well, I want to thank you for all you do too, and
Thank you.
for asking really great, intelligent questions. It's much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Karen. And we'll talk again, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Thanks for your time.
I hope so. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.